True fans live for their team. For those true U of A fans, there is Hughes Federal Credit Union. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union. Smart choice.
Welcome to Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. I'm Star Sports Editor Ryan Finley here with Greg Hansen. Greg, the Arizona Wildcats are 5-3 after losing Saturday to Washington.
They're 5-3?
They're 5-3.
Doesn't it seem like 3-5?
Yes. Yes, it does. They're 5-3 after losing Saturday to Washington State. And you made the argument on Sunday, given Arizona's remaining schedule and the way they're playing and who they open up with next week, it may be until the second week of September next fall that Arizona wins another game.
Take it back to the opening night against UTSA. When UTSA gained 525 yards against Arizona and nobody paid much attention to it, UTSA is 1-5. They're averaging 330 yards a game. They did that to Arizona, and now we can see why.
Right. I mean, to me, it's really interesting. I almost disregard the non-conference games, good and bad, because Arizona played such a weak schedule. If you look at them in Pac-12 play, they are 10th or worse in almost every defensive category. And to me, the statistic that really jumps out at me is turnover ratio. They're dead last in the Pac-12 in turnover ratio in conference play. And that's with Anu Solomon having not thrown an interception all season. So not only are they giving up big chunks of yards, they're not even making up for it by getting a couple takeaways here and there.
In the department of this guy has no life, I went through the Washington State game play-by-play on video. They threw 65 passes. Arizona didn't even touch one.
There were no tips at the line. There were no PBUs.
No one broke it up.
Right.
And at one point, Falk completed 16 consecutive passes. Wow. Have you ever heard of that?
No. I mean, Arizona has faced, I believe it's 104 pass attempts in the last 2 weeks, facing Colorado and Washington State. No interceptions. I believe 4 sacks, all of them against Colorado. And here's the big thing, 1 turnover, and that was on a fumble by a Colorado receiver.
Yeah, I remember that. Arizona's leading tackler is Devontae Neal. He's missed 2 games.
That's not good.
And he's not in a position where you make tackles.
No, he's not a linebacker. I mean, if he's making a tackle, it's because some guy has beat him.
Yeah. I've been here, I've watched Arizona every season since they've been in the Pac-10. I think only in 1991 did their defense come anywhere close to this, but this is beyond that.
How much, Greg, of their defense is a byproduct of their offense? I mean, we talked about this a lot, and Rich Rodriguez is pretty touchy about the subject. But how much of the fact that their defense is struggling has to do with the fact that their offense plays so quickly?
That's modern college football now, isn't it? Yeah. All the numbers have gone up on the wrong side for defense. Right. And it's inflated because of that. So the numbers aren't what they were in 1995 or 1985. But still, given the injuries they have, and you have to say that, this is unbroken ground for Arizona defense.
Absolutely. You know, we were talking the other day, 16 or 17 defensive players?
16.
16 defensive players have left the school since Rich Rodriguez got here. Is there a common denominator there?
My statement would be misevaluations. Really maybe 2 left because of injuries. I don't think anybody flunked out.
Right, no.
There were really no arrests on the defensive side of the ball. So it's misevaluations during recruiting.
Right, and I think that first recruiting cycle, even if you're willing to give them a pass for their first recruiting cycle, they got here in essentially December, had to sign a class by February. I think that there's only 2 contributors left from that class, and it's Will Parks and Jamar Allah. Even if you take that away, they're still losing, what, you would guess, a third of their defensive recruiting class every year just to attrition?
And that's why they're in this predicament. That's the one reason.
Yep.
Good enough on offense to win 8, 9, 10 games. But I just can't picture them overcoming this.
No. And in Arizona, it's not as if the Wildcats have an easy schedule coming up either. They play Washington Saturday in Seattle, then finish their season with games against USC, Utah, Arizona State. If you don't count a bowl game here, because they're not bowl eligible yet, they then open next year against BYU in Glendale. It's not hard to look at that and say 0-5.
I mean, it's easy to look at that and say 0-5.
Right.
And the big intrigue that's coming down the road is, will Rich Rod be the coach here next year?
You think?
I think that will be in play even if they lose out.
Even if they lose out, somebody will sit there and go, Rich Rodriguez, 5-7 at Arizona. I want that guy.
Yes,
Where?
Virginia Tech. South Carolina, number 2.
Miami?
See, I don't buy into the Miami part,
Right.
but I sure buy the other 2.
Sure. I don't know. If it were me, if I were a coach, I would much rather go to Miami where you've got players in your backyard
man.
and try to fill the stands than go to some place like Virginia Tech where you've got to dig for players, but the stands are full every week.
Yeah, that ship may have sailed on Virginia Tech too.
Absolutely. That's true. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Greg Hansen's Video Notebook. An uplifting episode, don't you think?
Fun stuff, isn't
Brimming
it?
with positivity. For Greg Hansen, I'm Ryan Finley. We'll see you next time.
True fans live for their team. They buy the gear, they order the tickets, they pay for the seats and the experiences. For those true U of A fans, thankfully there is Hughes Federal Credit Union, offering the latest payment choices such as U of A debit cards, paying online, paying a friend with Pop Money, or using Apple Pay with your mobile phone. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union. Smart choice.